If someone had told me that the biggest gift I ever gave my brother would eventually get me banned from his wedding, I would have never believed them. Because I wasn't trying to buy gratitude. I wasn't trying to impress anyone. I simply loved my brother. And I wanted him to have the life I never had. But sometimes, the people you sacrifice the most for are the same people who hurt you the deepest. And what happened next? Even the bride herself couldn't believe. Hello everyone. Before I tell you my story, please subscribe to the channel if you enjoy emotional family dramas, shocking betrayals, and satisfying endings. My name is Olivia Carter. I'm 34 years old. And for most of my life, my younger brother Noah was my favorite person in the world. Growing up, things weren't easy for our family. Money was always tight. My father worked long hours. My mother constantly worried about bills. And because Noah was 5 years younger than me, I naturally became his protector. I helped him with homework, walked him to school, saved my allowance to buy him birthday gifts. And honestly, I never minded. Because Noah wasn't just my brother. He was my best friend. Whenever kids bullied him, I defended him. Whenever he failed an exam, I encouraged him. Whenever he doubted himself, I reminded him that he could do anything. And through the years, I truly believed we would always be close. But there was one thing I ignored for far too long. My parents treated Noah differently. Not badly, just differently. He was the baby, the favorite, the one everyone protected. If Noah made mistakes, someone fixed them. If I made mistakes, I was told to be stronger, and eventually, I accepted it, because I loved my family. After college, I worked incredibly hard. I built a successful accounting business. Long hours, sacrifices, missed vacations, years of saving. But eventually, everything paid off. By 34, I was financially comfortable. Not rich, but stable. Meanwhile, Noah struggled. He lost 2 jobs, had credit card debt, and after his landlord sold the apartment building, he suddenly had nowhere to go. I remember him sitting in my kitchen one night, completely defeated, tears in his eyes, and honestly, seeing my little brother broken destroyed me. Then he whispered, "I feel like a failure." I immediately hugged him, because no matter how old we become, some people will always be family. For months, I secretly searched for houses. Nothing fancy, nothing extravagant, just somewhere safe. Somewhere Noah could finally rebuild his life, and eventually I found the perfect place. Small, beautiful, affordable, a fresh start. The day I handed Noah the keys, he cried, actually cried, and so did I. He hugged me tightly and whispered, "I can never repay you." I smiled, "You don't have to." Because honestly, seeing him happy was enough. Or at least, I thought it was. A few months later, everything seemed perfect. Noah had a stable job. His confidence returned, and then came another wonderful surprise. He got engaged to Emma, and honestly, I adored Emma. She was kind, funny, smart, and unlike many people, she treated everyone with respect, including me. When Noah announced the engagement, I was genuinely happy. I helped Emma choose decorations, attended dress fittings, and even contributed money toward the wedding. Not because anyone asked, because I wanted to. Because that's what family does, right? But slowly, something changed. My mother stopped calling as often, my father became distant, and Noah started canceling plans. At first I assumed everyone was simply busy. Wedding stress, nothing unusual. But then, I noticed something strange. Whenever I mentioned wedding details, people became uncomfortable, almost nervous. And honestly, I couldn't understand why. Then one evening, I received a phone call from my mother. Her voice sounded cold, unusually cold, and immediately, something inside me felt wrong. Very wrong. I smiled nervously. "Mom?" She took a deep breath, then calmly said words that shattered my heart. "Olivia, it would be better if you didn't attend Noah's wedding." For a moment, I thought I'd misheard her. "What?" she repeated herself. "You're no longer invited." My entire world stopped because somehow, the sister who bought Noah his home, the sister who helped plan the wedding, the sister who loved him more than anyone, had suddenly become unwanted. And the reason they gave me, made absolutely no sense. For several seconds after my mother's phone call, I couldn't even breathe. Surely this was some misunderstanding, some mistake, because families don't just remove people from weddings. Not without a reason. And definitely not after everything I'd done. I forced myself to stay calm. "Mom? Why?" There was silence. Then she answered with words that made absolutely no sense. "Your presence would create tension." "Tension?" I blinked. "What tension?" Another long pause. Then she quietly said, "Emma's family might misunderstand certain things." I sat there completely confused. Certain things? What things? Nothing she said made sense. Then my father took the phone. His voice was firm, almost rehearsed. "Olivia, Noah needs peace before the wedding. We don't want unnecessary drama." Drama? I hadn't argued with anyone. I hadn't complained. I had helped pay for the wedding, and somehow, I was the problem. Honestly, I felt like I was losing my mind. I immediately called Noah. No answer. I texted him. Nothing. Hours passed. Then finally, he replied with only 4 words. "Please trust me." Trust him. After being removed from his wedding, I stared at the message for several minutes. Because deep down, something felt terribly wrong. And for the first time in my life, my brother felt like a stranger. The next few days were torture. Friends who had received invitations suddenly stopped mentioning the wedding around me. My parents avoided my calls, and Noah disappeared completely. But the person who never changed was Emma, Noah's fiancée. She still sent me messages, still shared decoration photos, still asked for my opinion. And that's when I realized something terrifying. Emma didn't know. She had absolutely no idea I wasn't invited. At first, I considered telling her, but then I stopped myself, because I didn't want to create problems. I didn't want to ruin Noah's happiness. So I stayed silent, even though it broke my heart. 3 days before the wedding, my best friend Sarah came over. She found me sitting on my couch, still holding the invitation I would never use. And honestly, I looked pathetic. Sarah listened quietly, then she asked one question: "What exactly are they hiding?" I frowned. "Hiding?" She nodded. "Olivia, none of this makes sense." And suddenly, I realized she was right. Nothing about this situation made sense. Not one thing. Then Sarah asked something that changed everything. "Who actually owns Noah's house?" I looked at her. "What do you mean?" She smiled. "Did you transfer the title?" I froze. Because honestly, in all the excitement, I hadn't. The house was legally still under my name. I had planned to transfer ownership after the wedding, as a surprise. Noah didn't even know. And suddenly, a strange feeling settled in my stomach. Because if Noah already believed the house belonged to him, then why remove me from the wedding? Unless someone was afraid I'd reveal something. The next morning, I received a call from a bank representative. At first, I assumed it was routine, but then she asked, "Mrs. Carter, did you authorize the mortgage inquiry for the Maple Street property?" My blood ran cold. "Mortgage inquiry? What mortgage inquiry?" She sounded surprised. "Someone recently attempted to use the property for a financial application." I nearly dropped my phone. Because only one person lived there. Noah. I drove to the bank immediately. And what I learned left me speechless. Someone had attempted to use the house as proof of ownership, but legally, they couldn't. Because my name was still on every document. I sat there shaking. Not because of the house. Because suddenly, everything became clear. The wedding, the silence, the distance, the uninviting. Someone wanted me gone. Gone long enough to avoid questions. Gone long enough to keep me from discovering the truth. But the biggest shock came that same evening. I received a text message. From Emma, Noah's fiancée. It simply said, "Can we meet tomorrow?" That's all. No emojis. No explanation. Nothing. And honestly, something about the message felt strange. Very strange. The next day, I met Emma at a small coffee shop. The moment she sat down, I knew something was wrong. She looked pale, nervous, almost frightened. Then she reached into her purse and placed something on the table. It was a copy of the seating chart. I looked at it, and my heart stopped. Because next to my name, someone had written 2 words in red ink. Do not invite. Emma looked at me with tears in her eyes. Olivia, why does your family hate you? I couldn't answer, because honestly, I wanted to know the same thing. Then Emma whispered something that changed everything. Your mother told me you refused to support this marriage. She said you were jealous of Noah. Jealous? I almost laughed. Because I had bought him a house, helped fund the wedding, supported them from the beginning, and suddenly, I realized the horrifying truth. My own family had lied about me, to everyone, including the bride, and Emma looked absolutely devastated when she learned the truth. But what she revealed next would completely destroy the wedding. I sat frozen in that coffee shop. Emma's words kept echoing in my mind. Your mother said you hated this marriage. She told me you were jealous of Noah. Jealous, I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was unbelievable. I had spent my entire life protecting my brother. I bought him a home, helped pay for his wedding, supported him when nobody else could, and somehow I had become the villain. Emma looked heartbroken. Olivia, I believed them. Tears filled her eyes. I'm so sorry. Honestly, I wasn't angry with her because she had been lied to too. She had trusted the people who were supposed to tell her the truth, just like I had. Then Emma reached into her purse again and pulled out another envelope. She slid it across the table. There's something else. Inside were copies of emails. Emails between my mother and several relatives, and as I read them, I felt physically sick, because my mother had told everyone the same story, that I hated Emma, that I thought Noah was making a mistake, that I refused to support the wedding, that I had become bitter and selfish. None of it was true, not one word. Then came the message that broke me. One sentence written by my mother: Olivia always needs attention. Maybe missing the wedding will teach her a lesson. A lesson. After everything I had done, after every sacrifice, I quietly folded the papers, and for the first time in my life, something inside me died. Not my love for my family, but my need to earn their approval. Then Emma said something unexpected. Noah doesn't know. I looked up. What? She nodded. Your parents told me not to mention any of this to him. They said they were protecting him from stress. Protecting him. Or controlling him. Honestly, at that point, I didn't know anymore. Then Emma revealed the biggest shock of all. The previous night, she had accidentally overheard my parents talking, and what they said changed everything. Apparently, they already knew the house wasn't legally Noah's, and they were terrified, because they believed that once the wedding ended, I might transfer ownership directly to Noah and Emma together. But if Emma learned the truth before the wedding, she might ask questions. Questions they couldn't answer. Emma looked at me. Olivia, why would they do this? I didn't have an answer. Maybe favoritism, maybe control, maybe pride, maybe all three. Then Emma smiled through tears and quietly said, I think Noah deserves the truth. And honestly, she was right. That evening, Emma invited Noah to her apartment. Not my parents, not anyone else, just the 3 of us. When Noah walked in and saw me sitting there, he looked confused, then nervous, then angry. What's going on? Emma calmly handed him the emails, the seating chart, everything, and slowly, I watched my brother's face change. Confusion, shock, disbelief, pain. He looked at me. Olivia, is this true? I nodded, then quietly said, I never hated your marriage. I love you. I always will. Tears filled his eyes. Because suddenly, he realized something. For years, he had trusted our parents without question, and for years I had quietly paid the price. Then I told him something I'd never planned to reveal. Noah, the house is still legally mine. His eyes widened. What? I smiled softly. I plan to transfer it to you after the wedding. As a gift. Silence filled the room. Then my brother started crying, real crying, not embarrassment, not guilt, heartbreak. Because finally, he understood. The next morning was supposed to be his wedding day. But instead, Noah confronted our parents. And according to Emma, the argument lasted nearly 2 hours. For the first time in his life, he refused to let them control the narrative. And for the first time in my life, someone chose me. Then something happened nobody expected. At noon, I received a phone call. From Noah. Through tears, he said, Please come. I frowned. Come where? He laughed softly. To my wedding. When I arrived, everyone stared, because according to most guests, I wasn't supposed to be there. Then Noah walked toward the microphone, and in front of everyone, he said, "Before we begin, I need to thank someone." Then he looked directly at me. The woman who stood beside me when I had nothing. The woman who gave me a second chance. My sister. The room fell silent, and suddenly, people began realizing the truth. Then Emma stood beside him and smiled. Without Olivia, none of this would have been possible. My mother looked horrified, my father looked ashamed, and honestly, for the first time, I stopped caring because their approval no longer controlled me. After the ceremony, Noah hugged me tighter than he ever had before, and quietly whispered, "I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner." I smiled through tears because sometimes people aren't evil. Sometimes they're simply blind. And thankfully, blindness can be cured. 3 months later, I officially transferred the house, not only to Noah, but to Noah and Emma together, because Emma had proven something important. She valued truth more than comfort. And honestly, that's the kind of person I wanted beside my brother. As for my parents, things changed. Slowly, painfully. But eventually, they apologized. Not excuses, not explanations, real apologies, and while forgiveness took time, healing finally became possible. Today, whenever I visit Noah and Emma, I see laughter, peace, and a family built on honesty, not manipulation. And every time I walk through their front door, I remember something. Love should never have to compete for acceptance, because the people who truly love you will never ask you to disappear. The end moral of the story: never sacrifice your self-worth to earn love. Real family relationships are built on truth, gratitude, and respect, not manipulation and favoritism.